remote. Once we governed primetime slots, now we govern camera shots. Public service loud and proud, now optimized for scrolling crowds. Policy in 916, democracy but make it lean. We held an inquiry into the frame, found landscape privilege was to blame. Vertical equity's overdue, representation in every view. Rotate the nation, spin it right, portrait by day, widescreen by night. For every thumb and every couch, we've got a format to renounce. If the numbers dip, don't panic yet. Just pivot the aspect ratio set to modes. One proclamation, our nation through rotation. We promised depth, delivered glare, with ring light staged for public care. Long form thought that's quite extreme. Have you tried it as a meme? The smart TV feels so grand, statesmanship in 4K stand. But on the phone we keep it tight, conduce outrage in bite-sized fine. Select committees now go live, comments scrolling left and right. Transparency, oh yes indeed, filtered through engagement speed. Rotate the nation, hold it tall, policy cropped to fit the wall. Swipe for growth, tap for trust, broadcast futures built on must. If scrutiny begins to grow, flip the frame and change the show. Two screens, one presentation, optics, not a legislation. We consulted widely, the influencers agreed. We stress tested
Kia ora koutou, welcome to, let's try that again, welcome to the Order Paper. Apparently I'm used to hosting the other show. In case you haven't noticed, I am all on my lonesome tonight. Sam had lined me up a panellist, but unfortunately they've fallen ill. Everybody else is busy or hasn't responded. So we're just going to jump straight into it. First up, we've got Data and Statistics Census Amendment Bill, first reading. So let's jump into the opening for that. And away we go.
6. Mr Speaker, the Government is progressing a substantial work programme to address an issue of increasing importance to the quality of public and private decision making: how New Zealand gathers, produces and communicates its most fundamental population and dwelling data and statistics. The census is important to understanding who we are as a nation and supporting New Zealand's economic and social well-being. Government agencies, businesses and communities use census data to support important decision-making, planning and research across all sectors of society. But the census needs to evolve to better meet these needs. Over the last 2 censuses, there have been significant challenges with the traditional approach to census collection that relied heavily on all New Zealanders completing a census form. Declining response rates, coupled with rising costs and significant interruptions due to natural disasters, mean the traditional way of doing the census is simply no longer sustainable. Multiple governments have been advised accordingly and progressed along a pathway to a more modern census. There is an opportunity to do things better. More than a decade of research and consultation across several governments means we now know much more about how the data collected by government agencies can be used for official statistics. That is what the Data and Statistics Census Amendment Bill is about. It does 3 key things. First, the Census Bill enables the move to an annual census. In today's world, people need information that is more meaningful, relevant and timely. To that end, the Census Bill requires the government statistician to publish core census statistics about the previous financial year annually, beginning in 2030. This is a significant improvement. More up-to-date data means smarter decisions, helping build a stronger, more productive economy and more effective public services for all who need and use them. Stats New Zealand is ready to make the shift to a new census model. How we run the census is evolving. There is no longer a need to door-knock the whole country to carry out a census, but the census will continue. Second, the Census Bill clarifies when Stats New Zealand will need to consult the public and engage with Māori on census content and when census operations must be reviewed. As the new census approach means ongoing data collection and more frequent opportunities to update or change what information the census collects, the Census Bill will require the government statistician to consult regularly, at least once every 3 years. This is a practical way to ensure census decisions are informed by the needs of users and communities. Similarly, rather than reviewing census operations after each census, the Census Bill requires operations to be reviewed after the first modern census, 3 years after that, and then at least every 5th year after that. Third, the Census Bill makes technical changes to support the new census approach. The most noteworthy is that the Census Bill will ensure local electoral boundary reviews continue to work as they do now. This makes the Census Bill an omnibus bill, but these changes are necessary to ensure the law continues to operate pragmatically. Mr Speaker, though it is short, the Census Bill has potential constitutional implications. Currently, the completion of a census triggers a national electoral boundary review. These boundary reviews can only happen after each census. An annual census requires an adjusted approach to electoral boundary reviews to avoid annual boundary reviews, which would be impractical and unworkable. That is why the Electoral District Boundaries Amendment Bill will propose adjustments to the electoral boundary review process so that future boundary reviews take place during every second electoral cycle starting from 2030. As members will know, the overall aim of electoral boundary reviews is to ensure everyone is fairly and equally represented in Parliament. The Electoral Bill does not change the underlying process for boundary reviews, nor the principles that sit behind that process. The purpose of the Electoral Bill is to ensure that, in the future, the most recently available census continues to be the basis of boundary reviews, but no longer the trigger for them. Mr. Speaker, I'll briefly outline a few points. What it means to run a census using data already held by government, and what is happening to make the census approach work for all New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, the shift to an annual census is possible because the modernised census will be based on administrative data first, information already held by government agencies. Every time someone uses a public service, they provide information that can be used to produce census data and statistics. Stats New Zealand already uses data from other government agencies. What people pay tax, that provides information about their income, when people pay tax. When someone has a child, gets married or has a civil union, this provides information about the makeup of families. When people enrol with their doctoral school or update their details, this gives information about our population and where people live. Privacy and the protection of people's data is paramount, and there is no change to government's commitment to keep data safe and secure. The Data and Statistics Act will continue to protect the privacy, security and confidentiality of the data Stats New Zealand is entrusted with. Data collected for the census can never be used for regulatory or enforcement purposes. Admin data is the foundation of the new census model. In many cases, government data can provide better information than we could collect on census night. Where that is not the case, work is already well underway to improve the quality of admin data and ensure that Stats New Zealand can get the data it needs when it needs it. For most essential census population statistics, admin data can already provide high coverage, and we know there is a high level of consistency between census responses and the integrated admin data already available. We will still need to collect some data directly from New Zealanders. Admin data cannot give us everything we need. We will collect this additional data through a new annual census survey. This will run year-round and be completed by around 60,000 households per year. Stats New Zealand will also work closely with smaller or harder to reach population groups such as iwi Māori, Pacific, disabled, ethnic, rainbow and homeless and transient communities to ensure they have the data they need. Tailored solutions like targeted surveys, new data standards and community collections will also be developed to reflect the experience of these communities and to help meet their data needs and support better outcomes. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge that some groups are concerned that the new census approach will not give them what they need. The government takes these concerns seriously, but they are not new and were not necessarily addressed by previous census, nor can they be addressed by avoiding much needed change. The census must work for all New Zealand. A range of partners and groups will contribute to the planning of the next census, for example, through the establishment of new community design groups. The initial focus will be on planning for the next census, but other key statistics programs will also benefit. Delivering the first modern census is a considerable undertaking. Stats New Zealand needs time to prepare, and agencies need time to improve the quality of their data. To ensure the model is introduced as smoothly as possible, there will be a series of admin data releases over the next few years. This will demonstrate progress and will also help people become familiar with the changes and ensure they have the data they need between now and 2030. Transitional population data will actually become available annually from later this year. Transitional dwellings data will become available from late 2027, and from 2028 these data releases will become official statistics suitable for use in critical planning and decision making, although there will not be formal census releases. This will lead to the first modern census release being published in 2030. Mr. Speaker, a modern New Zealand needs a modern census. Multiple governments have progressed this pathway, and now the baton is passed to us. The Census Bill enables the shift to a more flexible, efficient and resilient census that will deliver the more frequent, high-quality insights our country needs now and into the future. I commend this bill to the House.
That's interesting. Okay. I was thinking to myself that it was very odd to hear Shane Retty talking about listening to the research. You know, let alone hearing oh shoot, I lost it. Hearing national at all following the research. Sorry, obviously I am not used to hosting this show. I am trying to line up the next clip for us while I do this. I am not as used to this as Sam and Laura are. But unfortunately, they are both unavailable at current. However, I do see it's in the ballot in the chat. Hi, Sam. The MEP. Sorry, Sam, my brain has blanked. What is the MEP? Please? You let me know and I'll move on to the next clip and then we'll get back to that. That sounds like a good plan.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Lemanga Lilia Soseni.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to make a contribution and on this side of the House. Labor will be supporting this to the first reading, Mr. Speaker. However, Mr. Speaker, I do want to raise that we are concerned at a number of the features that have been proposed. Firstly, the reliability of the data. The Minister has outlined the overall progress of the bill through the House. We are concerned in terms specifically of a number of the features that have been outlined, and I do want to go through that in this omnibus bill. We have heard it brings 3 acts together. Mr. Speaker, the accuracy and the current way the census is done every 5 years is helpful for officials to go through different segments of the current census data. The Minister has outlined that there's going to be an annual census collection, and we would question the reliability of the data in terms of specifically talking to our vulnerable communities. Minister also outlined that the census will be modernised in the different methods that they are going to use and provide a number of opportunities in what the data presents. Mr. Speaker, we want to see, Labor would like to see that through the methodology that it is scrutinised, hence our support to the select committee process. In the RIS statement, it outlined on page 3 the scale and pace of change. There are questions around the scale and pace of change. Will New Zealanders understand the purpose of the changes? How will communities such as iwi Māori, Pasifika, rural communities, our communities that need physical help in terms of impairments or vision, those types of features in terms of the technicalities and financial ability of what the data has to be collected, and how crucial will that be in terms of that methodology. So that's what we question, but especially also, Mr. Speaker, the data quality. It is important that when the Department of Statistics under this new bill into an act collects the methodology, how will they manoeuvre their collection methods into responding to those communities? And the reason why I ask, Mr. Speaker, there is a strong assumption that everyone understands English. And so when you are doing, if you are moving to a new system, has that been understood by New Zealanders? And so if you're not going to collect the important data on a specific night, the new tools, will they be amended to the needs of our communities? Mr. Speaker, in the short term, what are the potential impacts of that policy, and how crucial is the reliability again of that data? So those are the things that we want to ask through the process at Select Committee. Will the public be able to provide submissions that go through the features of the new bill? Our reservations continue in terms of the modernisation of this omnibus bill, that when surveys are being designed, is it going to receive the proper information that requires the accuracy to inform departments of the coming trends of policies that are going to be discussed by different agencies? Mr. Speaker, the timing of the next census is going to miss 2028 and going to be introduced in 2030. Will it be designed effectively? And so it does have constitutional changes in the next bill. The Electoral District Boundaries Amendment Bill will also be covered in terms of what is being introduced. Mr. Speaker, it's important when you talk, and I continue to raise this through the House because I come from a community who wants to understand the different laws and why things move so fast. So it is important that when the data is being collected from communities up and down Aotearoa, has our public from different vulnerable and minority communities, do they understand the change? What is the purpose and why is it happening so fast? So, Mr. Speaker, whilst Labor supports it to the first reading, we are going to continue to ask questions to the government. Thank you.
Celia Wade-Brown.
All right. So, back to Sam's previous question, MEP, Māori electoral population, that makes sense. Works out what size is a Māori electorate, ward or constituency. Honestly, Sam, I have no clue because I've been so busy organising my house, I haven't had a chance to do any research. Hi, Tomcat. I haven't had a chance to pre-watch any of this and find out if anybody says something. So for anybody that doesn't know, I just moved house last weekend. I am still in the process of organising my life. Also, I was unaware until today. Happy International Women's Day, everybody. What a coincidence that was to have me here. But in Shane's opening speech, I was wondering if it's only covering, what did he say, about 60,000 households every year. Like, does he know how often some people move house? People in short-term leases are going to be missed because they are constantly bouncing from house to house, and not because they're in vulnerable positions, just because that is what is allowed. There's a cat. Get out. That is what is allowed to happen under a temporary lease, which is what my previous place was, but that's because they were picking up the house and moving it to a whole new site. We knew that going into the property. So, but how, Tom, can you please stop smooching the microphone? Sorry, guys. Come here, buddy. Come here. Look at this monster. Look at this monster. He wants all the love. Right, there we go. Hi. Please be gentle, your claws. Right. Where was I? So, oh, her name is gone. I have to unfull screen the other thing. Give me a moment. I am not knowledgeable enough to try to pronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try because I would really rather not butcher it. But the Labour MP for Mangere was talking about Māori populations, Pacifica, our vulnerable, our homeless. How do we ensure that those demographics are covered under this new census model if it comes into effect? Also, why would... Thanks, Tom. Why would they miss the 2028 census and go straight to 2030? I know that It's always been done every 5 years. It used to be done 10, 15, 10, 15, 10, 15, right? COVID happened and broke that. So we somehow ended up in 2023 instead. No, not Lydia. I'm going to type what it says in the thing. Hold on. What is going on? Oh, no, I'm just having a moment. Yeah, so why would they skip the 2028 census and go straight to this new model in 2030 when they could have that data for beginning in 2030? It doesn't make any sense to me. So her name is... Oh, right, yes, that's where you got Lydia from. I see. Right. Christchurch earthquake. Oh, yes, that also threw off the census. Christchurch earthquake did also throw off the census count year thing. They postponed it because of the earthquake as well. You are absolutely right, Sam. But right, we will move on to Celia. And see what the Greens have to say about it.
Tēnā koe te mangai o te whare. I rise to speak on this first reading, and the Greens do acknowledge there's a big challenge about long-term decline in census response rates, make it increasingly difficult to gather information. I'd like to congratulate the staff who once found me at the Tautarunui campsite and got me to fill in the form in situ. That was excellent. The ones that failed to find where we lived in the Mawera because we didn't have a bridge at the time, less successful, but we got the forms and filled them in anyway. So, we're not opposed to the concept of an admin-first census approach in principle, and we do think there are some opportunities for statistical improvement and the yearly census attribute surveys. I mean, we do need real evidence, whether it's for looking at health outcomes and health planning, not only the infrastructure of hospitals, but actual primary health care as well. We do need the data. In particular, the Greens support resourcing the collection of insightful, high-quality information about our population and, of course, the environment, though that's not the census's role. And the dwelling data is of vital importance to the Green Party. So the government and Statistics New Zealand, not wrong when you say that the country is less willing to participate. There's been increased spending, but responses from Māori and Pacifica didn't increase markedly in the last census. However, there are some limitations in the current form of the Data and Statistics Census Amendment Bill. So we won't support it, but that doesn't mean we won't be constructive at Select Committee. I mean, it's almost a line call. Do you support it and try and improve it at Select Committee, or do you oppose it? And we have got enough reasons to oppose it at this first reading. In particular, we want to see the following points addressed. Improved coverage of harder to reach communities, some kind of minimum coverage of those harder to reach populations, specifically iwi Māori, Pacific, disabled, ethnic, rainbow, transient and homeless people. And of course it's somewhat ironic that those are just the people that the Electoral Amendment Act somewhat disenfranchised, and here we are hoping that we're going to get more information but not seeing the funding. I mean, it could be because you're not reporting back until July from the Justice Select Committee, it could be we're pleasantly surprised by some budget allocations in May that will adequately fund agencies to collect the data that we need. Instead of expecting more and more in existing baselines when inflation is eroding those numbers. The other area that we have considerable concerns with is Māori data sovereignty. Te Kāhui Rāronga, an independent body established in 2019, has concerns about the government's approach. They agree that Māori have worked with Stats New Zealand to improve the national census, which has lifted the quality of iwi affiliation information from very poor in 2018 to moderate in 2023. Will we see any continuing improvement in the admin first census approach? The Māori descent population is a key input into the setting of electoral boundaries, and it's interesting to see that this bill is now somewhat separate, although temporarily followed by the Electoral Boundaries Bill. So we do have those concerns. We look forward to a robust Select Committee process through the Justice Committee, and we want to see some safeguards against the misuse of admin first data. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cameron Luxton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 millennia ago, a young family had to travel across the desert to complete a census. That was a burden on a family of that day. Many years later, we have continued to modernise the census, and this minister is carrying on that proud tradition, and I support this bill.
Sorry, we got 2 in there. I just had a reply from someone that I had asked if they could come and be a panelist for me. So Greens have the same concerns as Labour, by the sounds of it. What is that? There's a stupid bug hitting my lamp. They have the hard heads and they smack into your wall and they go donk. Stupid bugs. Fish, catch the fish. Sorry. Right, yes. Māori, Pacifica, disabled, rainbow, transient, homeless communities, peoples being left out, not having their information collected, right? And if they're already, if these politicians are already talking about how these communities are going to be left out, how long is it going to be until other communities start getting left out? Because they're going to start picking their favourite 60,000 households every year, right? Oh no, we don't need to give beneficiaries that much money because these people pay this much tax, or these people make that much money, so therefore we don't need to lower the cost of living. How long is it going to be? And sorry, I'm seeing similarities with another country and I'm not enjoying it. You start trying to minimize a community, any community, doesn't matter, right? You start trying to minimize a community. How long is it until you start discrediting them, pushing them out, alienating them? And starting to do exactly what a couple of other countries on the other side of the world are doing. And I will let you guys take a wild guess as to what countries those are. So anyway, who commended? Cameron Luxton commended the bill to the House. And I have a funny feeling that the next speech is going to be just as quick, because that has 1 minute time difference on the things. So here we go. Oh, look, we have a sound.
I rise on behalf of New Zealand First as the spokesperson for Data and Statistics and this Census Amendment Bill. We live in a digital age, Mr. Speaker. Accumulation of significantly easier to do than in the days of yore, when statisticians had images of the man with a quill in the room right at the top next to his candle, making all the calculations. I think we've moved on a little bit from there, and as the Minister has said, the census needs to evolve. We need tailored solutions to meet, for example, the needs of Māori and harder to reach communities. That is why it's important that we modernise the practice regarding the collection of census data, as at the moment it takes far too long and we need more important and evolved data collection. The data collection through an admin data first system will save us more time and money in the long term, while still providing us with the relevant data we need to make decisions around important things like infrastructure and resource allocation. The bill will make the government more efficient, leaner and smarter in the statistics area that we gather. We look forward to strengthened data collection and statistical analysis as we take advantage of new technologies, Minister. Mr. Speaker, we commend this bill to the House.
That was a longer speech than I expected it to be. What do you think of that one, Sam?
Well, it's definitely not seat warmer territory.
No.
Yeah, so just for those to let you know, I've been following the show since I actually left, basically since 8 o'clock. So I've been keeping the tabs. I didn't get out of my street until 7, but I was not meant to be here tonight. I was meant to be having the night off.
It was meant to be your night off, so thank you from saving me for just.
So my doctor, better known as Kiwi Skirt, might be telling me off soon.
Because you were meant to have a night off.
Oh, she's been rattling off for me for ages.
Oh, last I saw, she was still in the audience in the collective, so.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, that one looks a lot better.
Yeah, there we go. It didn't make sense when it was just me. Everything looked weird.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. The interesting part that comes out with the census bill is the fact that it doesn't deal with the Māori electoral population. And, you know, what about those hard to reach places like Celia Wade Brown's house?
Yeah.
You know, it actually, like, put it this way, her business card used to have her GPS coordinates on it.
Oh, wow.
You know, that was like, that's what she actually had on, because that was more accurate than giving a street number. Yeah, just want to ask, why him to act?
Pardon?
Why him to act speech?
Give me half a moment. I don't think we've had them yet.
Oh, okay. Normally those speeches.
Oh, yeah, no, that was Cameron Luxton. He just commended it to the House and sat down again.
Far out.
It was over so quick we missed it.
God. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense why I seem to feel like we've missed it. Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, this bill to the House.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That happened so quickly. We've just had 2 speeches in one.
Yeah. I'll have fun doing the editing aspect of that. Yeah. Should we get on to Party Māori?
That sounds
I have
like
a feeling it might be Ordini Kaipra. No?
No, Hannah.
Oh, Hannah! Yay!
We get Hannah. Yeah. Let's make it big.
Speaker.
Hana rāwhiti mai ki Clark.
Tēnā rā koe te pika o te rā, tēnā rā tātou i te whare, ai tū ana hai ki te waha i ngā kōrero mō te Pāti Māori i te rangi nei, e whakahe ana ki tēnei o ngā pire, mō ngā tatauranga me te kohi-kohi ai ngā tauranga ki te census. E whakahe ana mātou te Pāti Māori I tēnei pire, nā runga anō I te mea kare anō kua kohia, kua haere ki te rapu, te kimi, I ngā tauranga e pehi nei I ngā hapori Māori I roto I ngā rohe Māori. So Te Pāti Māori opposes this bill. Some of the bill, this bill amends the Data and Statistics Act 2022, which some of the points require the publication of census data and statistics each year and move to the next census from 2028 to 2030. And clarify the census obligations of the government, statistics under a modern administrative data first, admin data first census approach. Some of the points, any changes to data collection and the reasonings why we oppose this bill is any changes to data collection and representation will intersect with Te Tiriti or Waitangi, and Te Pāti Māori urges that all proposed changes must be developed in partnership with tangata whenua. Data sovereignty must be upheld. And iwi, hapu and Māori organisations must be included and properly resourced to contribute to any new arrangements. Although Māori organisations such as Te Kahuira Raunga have been consulted with, this does not amount to true partnership. It is well established fact that administrative data has and will continue to undercount Māori and many of our people don't engage with the systems and government that collects this data, to the lack of trust within these institutions. Another reason why there's major concerns around moving the data census to 2030 is because this will have huge impact on the electoral law boundaries with the seats and representations that we'll have in Parliament, and we want to make sure that doesn't affect Māori representation within the Māori seats and the electorate seats that Māori have. So not just on a census and statistics view, but also in view of democracy and making sure that Māori have voice. Some of the kōrero o ngā kōrero kiri kōwhai me te ohu o te Kahuira Raunga, I roto I ngāna kōrero, Te Kahuira Raunga and Data Iwi Leaders Group lead a technician, Kiri Kōwhai me Kairi says her organisation was involved in some of the consultation behind the changes, but she still has many concerns about how it will go ahead. I quote, administrative data we know doesn't necessarily have the robust coverage for some key variables for iwi Māori, in particular for iwi affiliations variable, the Māori descent variable and te reo Māori. Another kaupapa kōrero is one of the concerns of moving to a system that relies on the combination of administrative data and smaller annual surveys is that it might roll back to the progress we've made and negatively impact the quality of Māori data. I just want to acknowledge the many mahi that Kiri Kōwhai and Te Kahuira Raunga have done within collecting Māori data. So these are some of our major concerns that we have as Te Pāti Māori, and making sure that there's true partnership in the decision making within this bill and within collecting data and within collecting statistics. But most of all, and another huge important point is that it reflects here in our democracy that we have in representation of Māori voices in Parliament. Reira, tēnā rā tātou.
I was going to say, you look like you had something to say there, Sam, but then you put your drink in your face.
More of the spiciness from the dumplings. Yeah. The one downside that's currently come out of the census is at the next election, Māori electorates are going to represent 4,500 more constituents than their general election counterpart, just because of the way how the numbers landed.
Yeah.
And that with the removing of the census on 2028, that's entrenching it in for 2 terms.
Yeah.
It's quite a serious thing, because also the other problem we actually have is the fact that we had a rarity where the South Island population grew faster than the North.
Yes. Yes. A lot of North Islanders have moved to the South Island.
Including Andrew Bailey's looking at doing it.
Like people whose families have been in the North Island for generations, never thought about going anywhere else. They've all gone, bugger this, and gone to the South. And honestly, half the time I can't blame them.
The Fernandos, who I went to primary school and college with, I think, in that boat.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I'm just trying to think. Peter, John, Richard, Unshaw, and Roshana all studied in the South Island. The only one who stayed in the North Island was Sam.
Right.
No, that's right. No, Sam also stayed in Dunedin as well. But Sam's the only one that's in the North Island from the Fernandos. The rest of them are in the South.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it sounds like Hannah answered your question earlier.
About the Māori electoral population, yeah.
From this one.
What about Māori and the MMP? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just Māori. We also got to sit there and take a look at the Pacific Island population who have a history of not engaging in census. If we sit there and take a look, like with Lydia earlier sat there and said, regarding Manganese, she's in the electorate that, it's the highest or second highest Pacific population electorate in the country. The other highest one is Mana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mara electorate, which don't know what's going to happen with the boundary shift with Kinaparu being in there, whether Kinaparu will be the one that succeeds or Kapiti, I don't know. But effectively, we need to engage with everyone. We don't need to just engage with Pākehā.
Exactly.
That's the problem, because otherwise you might sit there and have rich, white, and privileged as a response.
Exactly.
Rather than actually what is needed. Yeah. Who's next? It's weird being not. But I'm actually glad you're doing it, because.
Right, you get to take a back seat today, Sam. Look at that.
I don't feel like I'm firing all 4 cylinders at the moment.
That's all right. Yeah, you sound like those dumplings are really spicy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a spicier batch.
Next up, we have the one and only Carl Bates.
I commend this bill to the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I've shared previously in this House, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and so this idea is a interesting one for me. But when you look at the facts, Mr. Speaker, the 2018 census, a budget of around $126 million. The 2023 census, budget of $230 million. Unsurprisingly, Mr. Speaker, it cost $324 million under that government. It's time to review the way we collect this data and bring it into the modern age, and therefore I commend the bill to the House.
I mean, data collection shouldn't be coming down to simply what a budget is on a line on a spreadsheet. I mean, we could sit there and say, let's get a real trial by jury, something that's a constitutional right, but trial by jury actually costs a lot more than judge-alone trials, and trial by jury actually takes longer to happen. But, I mean,
yes,
we want accuracy in data, and, the census is one of those things that actually sits down there and helps bring in accurate data into the country so that we sit there and do it. We know what our population is, we know what certain factors are, and that sort of thing. I mean, put it this way, the census people would have been absolutely, they probably would have loved it when they found out my then 95-year-old grandmother sat there and filled her census out online. It didn't sit there and state the fact that it was sitting there, her grandson's in there filling out, asking her all the questions. But she sat there and said it was so much quicker than the paper version, because the paper version has all the variations on it, whereas the online version, if you don't need to answer the variation, it cuts it off.
Yeah.
The part I find quite unique was Grandma still put her religion as Presbyterian. I don't know when the last time Grandma went to church service.
You don't don't have to go to church to be a believer.
No, but
Right.
it's interesting to say that there is that generation that still kept their native faith
Yeah.
in it when they didn't turn up to church. Because you know how they said, oh, we're heading in the direction of a godless nation. I think we kind of became a lot more secular a lot earlier. It's just certain generations, such as say my grandma's, kept reporting their faith as what they grew up as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So an interesting thing that I found out recently is that by technicality, New Zealand has never been a Christian nation. Christianity as a whole may be our largest religion, but it has never been a
Well, for a start,
national religion.
we don't have a national church for a start. I mean, like we're not like England, which actually has the Church of England, which the head of the Church of England is the monarch. Like our current Māori Queen is Catholic.
Yeah, exactly.
But Catholicism isn't our national religion.
No.
I mean, put it this way: we probably have had the more diverse parts of religion in this country at the point from the Treaty of Waitangi onwards, because we've, you know, because part of doing with the treaty was British subjects is the Commonwealth countries came in. So, you know, like we had the Indians. You know, they brought in Hindu, they brought in Muslim, they Sikh. You know, that's just one country that brought in 3 different religions when they immigrated to New Zealand.
Exactly.
You know, we've had different ones in there. So we've never really got locked down into it. I mean, of a certain religion. And I mean, okay, different branches have shot off and they've merged back together. I mean, like Presbyterian and Anglican are kind of the same thing now. They used to have their own denominations, but as time has gone on, they
amazing when you consider St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, well, considering that's Irish. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there were never any snakes in Ireland.
Interesting, considering the snakes were always in Australia.
No.
What? So did England have snakes but not Ireland?
No. Okay, so St. Podrick.
Yeah.
Right, which is Irish language translates to Patrick, right? Podrick. Therefore, Paddy. It's D's, not T's. It's not Patty's Day, right? I watch creators who get very passionate about this because they are Irish.
We should see what our friend Trish Given sits there and says, because she's in that boat.
It was between the Anglicans and the Presbyterians, and I'm not going to say which way around it was because I don't remember. But St. Podrick was one of them, and killing the snakes in Ireland was actually killing the people of the other religion.
Oh.
To get them out of Ireland so that they could be the dominant religion.
Yeah.
That is the history of St. Paddy's Day. There were never reptilian snakes in Ireland.
Yeah.
And speaking of religions, you can also put yourself down as a Pastafarian on the census now.
Yeah. Along with I had the great one on the census was having to explain to Grandma what non-binary was.
That's not a religion, Samuel.
No. But another one of the questions that came on there was I had to explain that. But
right.
Yeah, but she kind of understood. She understood the principle foundation behind it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so she listened, and she understood where non-binary landed, which was you believe your body does not line with either a male or a female gender. And you kind of got a mixture of both.
Yeah.
And she at least understood that because she said she did ask that's different from being was it transgender, and it's like yes. It's like, okay. And she goes, okay, yeah, no, that makes some sense. But, understanding at least attempting to understand the principle, I would say it's a better word. Because she came from a generation where even transgender would have, would have just been considered non-existent.
Sacrilege. Yeah. Something's wrong with you. You're mentally ill. Go to the hospital. Be locked in an asylum. We know now that is not true. Yeah.
Yeah, because considering I wouldn't be surprised if that's where a lot of them ended up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But let's see what Camilla has to say, yeah?
Ooh. Yes, the Camilla we like.
Yes. I had a feeling you'd like that idea. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an important matter, and I mean, I think many people have focused on the historical importance of the census and their contributions today, and I do think that it is important to consider how long we have been collecting data in the census for and how significant that has been. Many in this House may have looked back at census past in order to ascertain a small amount of information about their ancestors in this country and also other countries. I recall in a previous census there was an option that you could, or that your data would be released to at a certain point in the future, or you could tick a box to allow that. And I imagined my descendants having nothing else better to do but to go and look up my census data and, look at the life I was leading in the early noughties. I perhaps early 2000s. So, I mean, perhaps that was slightly naive, Mr. Speaker, but I do think it points to a slight sadness that is probably reflected around the House and probably on the government benches too, that we are looking at something which will make a significant change to the way that we collect historical data. It is something that the Labour Party has committed to supporting to Select Committee. I think that there will be important questions at Select Committee for the officials, and I think we will be very interested to hear submissions from members of the public who may agree or may not agree with this move. It is clear that there have been some issues with the census in terms of moving from a paper-based model into one that's online and more attuned with the times, and there's been a few issues with that. And yes, it is expensive, but it is, I'm not a statistician, but I do see this as the move to administrative data is a little bit like moving to polling as opposed to having a general election. Sometimes it might be right, sometimes it might be wrong. Do we really know for sure? And so that is the concern, I suppose, with this, is what are we missing by just looking at administrative data? We did have the Minister of Statistics in front of the Governance and Administration Committee, and we did talk about these issues around the census, and and officials as well, and there are concerns around especially data surrounding homelessness, and vulnerable communities, but also I have to say there are a number of people who you wouldn't put into that category who may not be connected with other government collection of data statistics. So people who may not be going to MSD, who may not be going to the doctor. How are we going to ensure that our full population is recognised through administrative data? These are genuine questions, and I don't think this is generally something that is overly politicised, and I'm sure the government would like to have a consensus within political parties around this collection of data, because as we know, so many decisions of the government just depend on where we see the statistics and what information we collect about our population. So this does have a huge amount of impact. So I am concerned that there might be people who are now recorded in the existing census model who may not be recorded in this new model. Would really appreciate the Select Committee process to hopefully allay some of those concerns, although I am a little bit surprised to see the Justice Committee is dealing with this bill. I'm sure members of the Governance and Administration Committee will be slightly disappointed not to be able to delve into this issue when we're involved in so much of the Yeah, well, that may be the case, but when we're involved in so much scrutiny on the issue, but no doubt the Minister will be able to update us on what's been happening with this bill at annual review and after estimates as well. So we will support this bill, but there is with some probably sadness and trepidation, and also wanting some assurances that the statistical data in New Zealand will not be left in a worse place, and we won't be turning our back on something that we've all participated in, that many of our ancestors who have been in New Zealand and around the world have participated in, and that has provided, until now, the best way that we can see the needs and see what our entire population looks at, and get really important information from that.
Speaker.
I believe that was the end of her speech.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes, because I heard Rima Narkle.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That is the time of day. That is the length of the video. They are different things, Stacey. Sort it out.
You're learning a few things. Yeah.
I confused myself with that earlier today too.
Yeah. That's the big thing that's got to come out of there, is not everyone is registered with a GP. I can tell you, former colleague of mine at BP, who was Māori, Karen, was not registered with a GP, hadn't seen one for 10 years.
Wow.
Wow. Lucky her. This is what, this is what Lisa did.
Lucky her not needing to see a GP.
Yeah, exactly. Not needing to see a GP. I remember where I physically didn't see my GP for 3 years, and because I went to KYS, and they actually had to get hold of me to re-enroll me to keep me on the books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that thing can be lost. We've got great examples here. You're enrolled to a GP in Wellington, even that you now live in Upper Hutt.
Mm-hmm.
When I was living in Levin, I was registered to a GP in Paraparaumu. When I was living in Kandala, I still went to a GP in Newtown. I now go to a GP in the guts of the CBD because that's what I have for my needs. But it is based, you end up having things where it's amazing. Like when you find a good GP, you kind of stay there. And some people do travel far and wide to get to their GPs. I know, was it Steve? He lives in Mawera and he will travel to Palmerston North to see his GP.
Wow.
That's quite a long way. He works in Dennyville. He doesn't work in Palmerston North. Considering it's a 90-minute drive to get to Palmerston North from Mawera. Yeah. It's not exactly around the corner.
It's not. It's not just a quick trip over the hill.
Oh God! Well, put it this way: when you sit there and come from Wellington, it's a quick trip until you sit there and get off State Highway 2, and then it's like third gear driving all the way there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm in Upper Hutt. My GP's office is in Newtown. My GP's office is down the road from Wellington Hospital. My sister, when she still lived down here, her GP was in Poreroa, and then she moved to Palmerston North, kept the same GP, and then came back down. Eventually ended up out in Wainui and was still going to Poreroa to go see her doctor.
My grandma went to the same GP in Tetahi Bay until she was 89.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only an appointment at 89 was her GP sat there and said to her, you might not pass your medical at 90. Your eyesight is the thing we've got to watch out for. It is time to move your affairs to the Kapiti Coast.
Yeah. White House Road was my first family doctor. They were great doctors.
It was probably the same place that my grandma went to.
Yeah, little blue building.
Yeah, I don't know. Like she said, Like, she only ever had 2 doctors there over her time. But, like, the first of the 2 doctors delivered my father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or something, so the dad actually was born in Porirua directly, not Wellington.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it could have been the case. I mean, they did live in Taiti Road when my dad was a kid. He did live in Taiti Road,
Yeah, so they were probably at White House.
Yeah. And I mean, and everyone in town probably went to White House. Because Titahi Bay was a tight-knit community.
There was, I don't know if it still exists, a doctor on the main road as well. Some people go there, but the majority I knew went to White House.
The population's gone up in Titahi Bay compared to like what it was like.
Hell yeah!
When my grandparents moved back there in the 50s, the population went from like a couple of hundred people to 5,000.
Yeah. Even since the 90s, it has boomed.
Yeah, exactly.
There are so many new streets there. I wouldn't be able to find my way around anymore.
Exactly. I mean, if we sit there and take a look at it, Titahi Bay Intermediate, like it's got more classrooms than what it did when Granddad was teacher. Like it's expanded, had to expand.
But also, this is a very good point.
Exactly, that is so true.
Yeah, it happens with everything.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened with Manage My Health.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
I had to get hold of my GP and make sure that my data wasn't leaked.
Well, I thank goodness I never was on Manage My Health. I didn't sign up. I ended up on the new system when my GP transitioned away from Manage My Health. So I've never actually done my data ended up on Manage My Health because it was just something I never signed up to because like, oh, ring up, I want the personal touch.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's useful for the
it's just so much easier to order repeat prescriptions.
Yeah.
Especially when your GP leaves.
Yep. Yeah.
And then half your medications aren't on your long-term medication list.
Yep. Yeah.
I was very highly unimpressed when I went to pick up my meds on Thursday.
Oh, God, and I know some of you cheap either.
Right, but anyway, it is after 9 o'clock, so let's get back to it. Rima!
Oh, no. We give up after speech 8.
Oh, we're going to give up?
Yeah. Let's get on to the electoral boundary one. What does it say on the run sheet?
You don't want to see Duncan Webb?
No.
Or Hamish Campbell?
No.
All right. Let's swap our page over.
Electoral District Boundary Amendment Bill first reading.
So we need to use Kiwi Pulse's video again this week because I'm going to quickly show you here. This is only 16 seconds. Like, come back here. That guy. This is
the rest of the bills.
So,
and the rest of the bills from that period, I believe, aren't the other 2 bills that were there aren't there. But
so give me half a second to line that guy back up. There we go. That guy. All right. Oh, hi. Sorry, there was suddenly a person at my door. Thank you.
Way?
I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to see. Okay, right. Here we are. So, can't tell you who's speaking. Can't tell you how long they're going to be because this is coming from Kiwi Pulse's live stream. Thank you, Kiwi Pulse.
Yep.
Right. Let's do this.
Program to modernise the census, as we have just heard. This includes shifting towards annual publication of census statistics rather than every 5 years, and making greater use of administrative data when producing the census. As part of this, the next census will be moved from 2028 until 2030. This shift is about making sure people get the information they need to make more timely and more informed decisions. These changes are being progressed as part of a separate data and statistics census amendment bill that members may well be very familiar with. The census provides essential information to government agencies, businesses and communities about who we are, and it is central to planning, decision-making and developing insights about New Zealanders' economic and social wellbeing. It also plays a part in the core democratic process of setting the country's electoral boundaries. As members will know, each 5-yearly census automatically triggers a boundary review where the Independent Representation Commission draws up electoral boundaries. The overall aim of this process is to ensure everyone is fairly and equally represented. This is arguably an understated but very significant feature of New Zealand's democratic system. Mr. Speaker, the shift towards annual publication of census data means that it is necessary to amend the Electoral Act 1993. If the Act is not changed, boundary reviews will be legally triggered on an annual basis, resulting in an impractical and unworkable boundary review system, not to mention quite a lot of consternation for members in the House. Mr. Speaker, although many features of the boundary review system are highly technical, the policy behind the bill is relatively straightforward. It provides that the Representation Commission must complete a boundary review during every second electoral cycle, starting from 2030. This change will ensure that New Zealand's electoral boundaries continue to be adjusted regularly and in a manner logically connected to New Zealand's electoral cycle. To ensure that this process runs smoothly, the bill will do 3 things. It requires the Representation Commission to finalise boundary reviews 12 months before Parliament's expiry. It requires the Commission to appoint a chairperson 2 years before Parliament's expiry, and it requires that electoral boundaries must be based on the most recently available census results. Mr. Speaker, the bill does not make changes to that underlying process for boundary reviews or the principles that sit behind that process. For example, the Commission will still be required to follow the same statutory formula for calculating the electoral populations, and there will still be strict rules about how many people can be in each electoral district. These are important policy settings that ensure our electoral boundaries are representative, routinely adjusted and, most importantly of all, fair. Mr. Speaker, the bill would amend provisions in the Electoral Act that are reserved or entrenched. This means that some provisions in this bill can only be passed if they receive a 75% majority at committee of the whole House. The Minister of Statistics and I, on behalf of the Minister of Justice, have consulted with the political party leaders of all parties represented in this House, seeking cross-party support on these proposals. And I want to thank all of those party leaders and their representatives for their constructive engagement on this bill to date. Well done. I look forward to hearing what members of the public, stakeholders and the Select Committee have to say as the bill progresses through the House. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the boundary review process is central to the operation of New Zealand's democracy. The changes to the census require sensible, targeted changes to ensure New Zealanders continue to be equally represented and can trust that matters related to their representation in this House are routinely calculated. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
It's a nice change to hear someone thanking the other parties for their input.
Now, I wouldn't sit there and say the Minister of Justice is that way inclined, but James Meagher is one who is known for building relationships across multiple sides of the House.
Right, cross-party relationships. Yeah.
I quite like James. I do rate him as a future senior member of the National Party who wants to get rid of the destructionist part the current National Party's in. Yeah. One thing in that bill I completely agree with is the having the boundary redraws governed to every 2 terms. Currently on a council, they have to do a population representation review every 2 cycles, every 2 electoral cycles. That would align both the council with the government. To have their reviews at the same time, or their reviews in the same system. This is a 2017 population review, it came in the 2019 local body elections, only 2018. No, it was 2018 it happened. Wellington City Council had to do a population review to determine the ward boundaries for the 2019 local body elections. And Southern Ward, which is the ward that I currently live in, is the ward you lived in when you were living in Newtown, was the odd one out on councillors. And when we went to have the review, we had to use 2013 statistics because we couldn't use the 2018 ones because they hadn't been finalised yet. So, so we had a boundary redraw that basically put Southgate into Eastern Ward and put Brooklyn all into Southern Ward. And that ended up bringing a problem because what happened in 2021 was Wellington City Council chose to enact bringing in a Māori ward. They had another representation review, but they didn't do a full review. They did a small review. But what it ended up doing was it entrenched 2013 statistics for wards into that are still in place now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we were promised when we put in the review for the Māori ward, when I put in my submission to Wellington City Council, when Uncle Andy, no, he's not allowed that title anymore, according to law. Then Mayor Andy Foster, it was said that we would still have our normal census boundary review in the next cycle. Now, the next cycle, Tory ended up becoming mayor. The reason why it was held off was because they cost money. And yeah, they aren't exactly cheap to sit there and do. The representation reviews are pretty expensive. But that's a functional part of democracy. But also at the same time, representation reviews actually cost more money than Māori ward referendums. Yeah. So effectively, the current wards in Wellington have boundary structures based on the 2013 census.
Yeah, that's weird. And as soon as you said Brooklyn and Southern Ward, I was just like, that just feels wrong.
Yeah. But what feels more wrong is Southgate and Eastern Ward. Southgate, which you've got to drive through Newtown to get to. Houghton Bay had been Eastern Ward for a while, but Houghton Bay also feels like it more likely belongs in there. So Craig Rennie, he ain't a Southern Ward voter, he's an Eastern Ward voter. Just to those who are wondering, on the little bits of information Craig Rennie has given out, stating he lives in Houghton Bay, he would be an Eastern Ward, Murakarangi Eastern Ward voter.
Huh.
Yeah. So I mean, there's all. I mean, this happened in your council, and what led to, and it was the Māori ward referendum part that led them in the decision. But the big issue Upper Hutt City Council had was where to put the electoral boundary, because the proposed ward boundary, if they'll have to have an upper and a lower Upper Hutt ward or a north and a south, was Sutherland Ave.
Right.
And the majority of councillors live south of that intersection.
Right.
Angela,
I see.
Actually, Angela wasn't on the council at the time. Helen does.
Right. But having like an Upper Hutt, having an Eastern and Western ward just feels
Upper Hutt and wards,
because
it just makes like 5% of the population of Upper Hutt are in the prison.
Yeah.
No, it might not be 5. It might be 2.5%. Sorry, I got that figure wrong. No, it's 2.5%. No,
a sizable amount.
Yeah. It's enough of it represents half the councillor on the council.
Wow.
On a if you think about it, they have 10 councillors on the council. 9.5 councillors represent. It was something like 9.5 councillors represent people who aren't in prison, and 0.5% of councillors represent people who are in prison.
Right.
Who,
Wow.
ironically, often possibly can't vote because Rimutaka is a high security prison.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's not like it's a medium or low. So it typically has people who have long sentences. Yeah. Shall we move on to the next person?
We shall indeed, and look, we get to see Duncan anyway. Let's go.
Oh, Duncan's speech can be very.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do want to note that these two bills, which are related, although not strictly associated at the present time, are both very important bills. And there's a danger that we look at them as if they're administrative. And in one sense they are, and this Electoral District Boundaries Amendment Bill in particular looks administrative. But as the Minister has just pointed out, it's actually touching on a constitutional foundation stone that is so important that it's one of the reserved provisions, or to use slightly looser language, one of the entrenched provisions in our Electoral Act. And so that requires to proceed through all stages of this House to get 75% support. And obviously, something like this, we're not going to be playing politics around it, and if it's the right thing to do, we'll absolutely be doing it. I mean, it is in some ways a strange thing that we have elections on a 3-yearly cycle and representation reviews on a 5-yearly cycle, and it can lead to some kind of strange circumstances where on one part of when the two cycles are running together, on one part you can have a long lead-in time for boundary changes, and on another one you can have a very short lead-in time for boundary changes, which are equally as important on both occasions. So that to us does seem a sensible reason to do it. Having said that, we want to also have a good look at the provisions dealing with the Representation Commission. We want to make sure that the timelines imposed by this legislation, essentially proposing that the Representation Commission call its first meeting 2 years out and then resolves within 12 months, that they are an appropriate length of time. We also want to make sure that all of those other provisions around representation are properly reflected. In terms of the process itself, that is pretty well established by now. There are some tweaks around the membership of the Representation Commission, and I think it's important that we have a good look at that. The other thing is, of course, how it impacts on Māori electorates and the Māori role, and that's something, again, which deserves very close examination. So I'm sure, again, and I would implore members of the public, both those who have knowledge in the specialist knowledge in this area and others who are, have a more general view of what's going on, that they do submit on this bill, because it's an important part of our constitutional infrastructure. As has been noted, it's tied with the census legislation, and whilst members of the Governance and Administration Committee may think that we're an expansionist committee in the Justice Committee, I think it is appropriate that they be heard together, because that's the other thing to note, that in terms of the electoral boundary reviews, we need a high degree of confidence that the information we're getting from Data and Statistics NZ is accurate. And that's why these two bills are aligned together. But at the same time, we need to hear from statisticians and people who are experts in the area of data research that's an effective way to go about it. So, in short, we're happy to see this go to select committee, make sure that it's actually going to work, and essentially make sure that what we do see coming out of the representation process are electorates which properly reflect their populations, with a process which is fair to all parties, and with essentially done in a way which is both timely and effective. That's the job that the Justice Committee has before it, and I look forward to embarking upon that journey together.
I think Duncan sat down there and stole my words from what we just talked about.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's but yeah, the interesting part is we've been doing 5-year census since this country started doing them.
Yeah.
And we've only abandoned 3 in their whole history, 2 which were completely abandoned, and 1 was deferred by 2 years. Christchurch earthquake was deferred by 2 years.
Yes.
And the 1941 census was completely abandoned because we're in a world war.
Exactly.
You know, which made sense. Okay, yes, we had electoral boundaries that possibly sat in place for nearly 10 years, but, you know, I mean, we also had by-elections at that point in time where the opposition party, the opposing party, wouldn't stand in them during the war as well. And that's how we got, Mary Grigg, our second widow succession.
Mm-hmm.
In our first what's it called? And our first national MP widow succession.
Right.
And that was and she was elected unopposed, but she succeeded her husband. Yeah.
Yeah. You must be exhausted, Sam. My gosh.
Yeah, it's been a long day. I mean,
You've had a very long day. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but it seems to be the weekend of letdowns.
I know, right?
Shall we see what Celia's got to say?
Oh, is it Celia up next? All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, she's the electoral spokesperson for the Greens.
Oh, okay. That
And that's what I really love. And that's what I love about Celia. That's what she loves about It's in the Ballot is the electoral aspect. It's about getting our populace informed.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Celia Wadborough.
Tēnā koe. I rise to speak to this first reading of the Electoral District Boundaries Amendment Bill, and I rise with a number of concerns, some of which have been expressed. Thank you for engaging first with the leaders and then with our spokesperson regarding the statistics, Mr. Hernandez, and I want to raise some of the issues. Now, if we're going to have an administrative census rather than the 5-yearly one, then obviously we do have to decouple the boundary reviews from that process. We are not convinced that there are good reasons to have chosen every second election rather than a couple of other possibilities. One is every election. You tie in so people's expectations are, as well as checking their enrolment details, they know that there's going to be an opportunity to look at the boundaries. The counter to that is, of course, there are some communities that are popping in and out of electorates. And for example, the Ashurst community that may look to Palmerston in many ways, but is actually currently in the Rangitiki and will become part of the glorious Wairarapa electorate, to where they are very welcome. But we do need to make sure, above all, that our electorates have similar weights. And I am concerned that over what would be basically a 6-yearly adjustment, places like Tauranga, Hamilton are growing really, really fast. And so are the changes in the number of people living in the Māori electorates. So I am concerned. I think it's also interesting to reflect on what is casually called the entrenchment provision, where to get these bills through, there has to be 75% agreement. the Maori seats that were first created in the 1860s are not in, their existence is not entrenched at this level. That's the sort of reason that my colleague Hannah Linden is introducing a bill to say, look, that is part of how this country runs. It should not be tampered with unless you've got a 75% majority. The other issue that has potentially really made a big difference to the coming election is the changes to electoral enrolment, and the fact that that now has to be done 13 days earlier. That is a really big change, but that didn't need 75% majority, and my view, it should have done. So the Electoral Review Panel, I'm not quite sure I agree with them, but it was the other option. Instead of doing it 3 yearly with every election, they recommended sticking to the 5 yearly frequency, although I have to say aligning it with the electoral cycle does make more sense, just not skipping it out. We also have considerable concerns about the not being able to have updates before the 2029 election. We think it's surprising that the statistics were not able to be gathered in time for that. I would also like to quote from the previous, a very interesting article and comment in Newsroom, where Len Cook, the previous government statistician, first of all, he does somewhat rail against ditching the regular censuses, but also he talks about how changing statistical mesh blocks will now be a much bigger statistical area, and he goes into things that are beyond my mathematical knowledge, like multi-dimensional cross-tabulations of people, which sounds a way of actually getting data that will be a good basis for decisions. I think it would be well worth the Justice Select Committee actually asking the previous statistician to come in and speak to the committee. Hopefully he will anyway. Thank you. My time has expired.
Look at her keeping track of her own time.
Yeah. But I'm not exactly impressed with your speech there, Celia. I'll actually mention anomalies such as like Ashurst going from the Retico electorate to the Wairarapa electorate.
Yeah.
A local anomaly is the fact that one part of Newlands is going to be, and Woodridge is going to be part of the Hutt South electorate, not part of the Kinapura electorate at the next election. And also Whitby is going to be part of the new Deputy electorate, but Pura East and Tūtahi Bay are going to be part of the new Kinapura electorate.
What? Yeah, it's messed up. It really is messed up.
It's the downside of the way how the electoral boundary system works. Like when I spoke to Tim McIntyre in 2024, when he ran for the by-election to replace Ryan Hamilton in Hamilton East, we were both confident the electorate number was going to go to 73, not down to 71.
All right.
Because it's never in history, it's never gone down since we applied that rule.
It's because we've lost so many
people to the South Island.
Or internationally.
No. It was the South Island population grew at 7% between the two census periods, with North Island grew at 5%. That's the reason why we've lost the seat. It's not because we've actually lost population in North Island. It's just the fact the South Island grew faster than the North, which was the first time in history. But that could have happened a lot sooner if it wasn't for the Christchurch earthquake. because the Christchurch earthquake displaced a lot of people, and a lot of people ended up in the North Island unexpectedly. So they so that's part of the reason why we've so we could have had that happen 10 years earlier if it wasn't for the Christchurch earthquake.
Yeah.
Christchurch did overtake Wellington as the second largest city prior to the earthquake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a thought during Celia's speech, right?
Yeah.
We have a 3-year election cycle, right?
Yes.
So we have local elections, we have general elections,
Yep.
and then we have an off year, right?
Yes.
So why not collect census data in the off year for, like, because it takes time to collate, not for the next, not necessarily the next local election, but it should be ready in time for the next general election.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, as I say, I agree with the rules that go around with. I'm not exactly 100% agreement with Celia's one about boundary redraws every election, because otherwise you do get those communities that keep hopping across boundaries. And something is not, people do not like is hopping across boundaries. Like, I mean, I know Kaz told me this in the 2005 general election. Her and her mother went to the Bob Clarkson versus Winston Peters debates all over Tauranga, and they didn't know that Welcome Bay was shifted into the Bay of Plenty electorate until they got the ballot papers. Yeah. Now, here's something very interesting. When the Bay of Plenty electorate was first formed in 1996, based on the population numbers, it stretched away from the East Cape and the North right all the way up to Katikati. It has slowly shrunk to the point now that the next election, Bay of Plenty electorate is going to be gone and replaced with Mount Maunganui, and the Tauranga electorate, as we know it, is going to have its own electorate that excludes Mount Maunganui.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, so it's something that's needed to happen for some time. I'm glad it's finally happened in there. I mean, the other one this was something that Tim McIntyre and I did talk about, was possibly the epicenter of the redraw of electorates should start from Hamilton instead of Auckland, with Hamilton having 3 electorates, because when he was first elected as MP, Hamilton West had a rural area. And then the 14 election, he lost the rural area, but quite often the rural area still came to him as when they need constituency issues.
Right.
So, in that technically, when his constituents, he still did the work. Because it made logical sense. Because if you live in Whanawhana, it made sense for you to go to Hamilton, not to wherever Barbara Courage's Taranaki King Country offices.
Yeah.
And I mean, the name of the electorate gives away itself. But and that's something that he sat there and said is some of these urban electorates need these rural, like the rural feeders to be dragged into, like, be part of an urban electorate, not part of a rural electorate where the electorate office is so far away that it's like it's another thing, or your MP is completely different altogether. I mean, because he said rural electorates, urban electorates, they have their different things there. Yeah. Wonder if we'll have another gate crasher. We're now given the idea.
I don't know, they're probably exhausted too.
So see what's...
No, I'm having a moment. That's my shared screen.
Yeah.
I heard a beep.
Yeah. Should we see what X got to say?
Yes. But yeah, I was going to say, if you do a census every off year, right, and then you use 2 to average it out, so that you're not redrawing boundaries every election.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
And then I didn't think they'd be jumping in. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good luck. All right. Yeah. Let's jump into our next speech.
Well, it's good to be standing and giving another contribution on behalf of this side of the House and the ACT Party on reforms and improvements being made to our census and electoral system. You know, these boundary reviews should be lining up with the parliamentary term. It makes complete sense. When we're doing a census, you know, unlike that family that I spoke about earlier in this contribution who travelled across Judea to get to Bethlehem to be counted in the census, Tauranga and Mount Maunganui are having a boundary change, and I can inform the good people of Judea in Tauranga and Bethlehem in Tauranga that their boundaries are not changing. So thank you very much.
Actually, he mentions a damn good point about the local boundary issues with the Tauranga City Council, because Bethlehem and Judea are actually in separate wards, I think. They no, actually they're not. No, they're both actually they are in the same council wards. However, the old electorates have been disestablished. Yes, they were different electorates. Yeah.
Oh, is there actually a place called Judea?
Yes.
Up there. Oh.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, just like there's a place called Bethlehem, which, you know,
I knew there was a Bethlehem.
Yeah, but you only knew that because we covered the.
Because we covered their show. Yeah.
Like you know, Cody was going like Bethlehem. No, you got to be careful. There's a place called Bethlehem.
Yes.
In New Zealand. I go, and it's like yes, like because I mean I've known that like when Dad was living in Tauranga as a kid. Yeah. Like to me, it was always known to be like that. But yeah, it kind of like shocked her because Cody just didn't expect to even hear that at all. And same with Nick. Like I mean, both Cody and Nick didn't really know much about electric. Oh, was it these little pokey ass places? I mean, you'd be the same as well. I mean, you know, I think you managed to get two particular ones that had Otamotai and Mao mixed up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because
no, that was just me having a moment.
Yeah. But you know, two different M's sit there and do it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out, when did he mention this family previously? Was it in a totally different thing? Like,
I don't know.
Because both of the bills that we're covering today are from Thursday the 5th.
Yeah.
Right. We've had, what did they do? They did personal explanation, special urgent, public finance amendment bill, social security accident calculation. There's a karakia, business statement, petitions, papers, select committee reports, introduction of bills.
Gee,
oral questions, urgent debates declined.
Yep.
And then we have data and stats census amendment, which we covered, and electoral district boundaries amendment, which we are covering, right? Yeah. But in the census amendment bill, he stood up and said, we commend this bill to the House, and sat back down again. So when did he mention this family previously?
I don't know. Yeah.
There's no chance for him to have mentioned some family somewhere, anywhere in the country.
Always skipped over it.
It was a blink and you miss it moment, apparently.
Yeah.
Right.
But yes. Yeah. Well, here's something else also to laugh about. So, Joanne's mother-in-law managed to live in the house that street name started with the same name as her first name by coincidence.
Oh wow!
Yes, yeah.
I could never live on a Stacey anything street. That would just be too confusing.
and I gather that would also be the same for Ryan Street.
Oh, absolutely.
So you'd live in Taylor Terrace in Tawa, but not in Ryan. Was it whatever it is off Taylor Terrace?
No. No.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's too confusing.
That's
Right.
all right. I do know Ryan Taylor as well. I actually think you know that same Ryan Taylor.
Do I? We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Let's get into the next page before we completely run out of time.
Yep.
Madam Speaker.
Andy Foster.
Madam Speaker, I rise on behalf of New Zealand First to speak in support of what is a common sense bill. It's a common sense bill because of the bill that we've been considering just before this, the one which is going to change the way in which we collect our census. Currently, of course, the representation, the boundary reviews are very much tied to the census, which happens every 5 years, which of course doesn't necessarily align with the time frame, or doesn't align with the time frame that we have for a 3-year electoral cycle. That might become 4 years, but it still doesn't align with that. And so that means what we have now is a census which will be collected in a different way. That census will be able to be collected every year, and so it makes it possible, much more possible, but does make it possible, to be able to align the new electoral boundaries with census data, because that census data will be collected annually rather than every 5 years. So to me that makes that is just a common sense approach. But I just wanted to reflect just very, very quickly on why we've got ourselves in this situation, because there have been a number of people, and I've got a history background in terms of my degree, or one of my degrees, the census is an important piece of historical data. Yes, it is. It's something which we collected for a very, very long period of time. But it's become more and more expensive and more difficult to collect because people are less inclined, or more and more people are less inclined to cooperate, which means that the quality of the data then becomes poorer. And I just wanted to alert you to, as part of the Governance Administration Committee, which is obviously going to be slightly sidestepped with this piece of legislation, we did have a really good discussion yesterday as part of the long-term insights briefing from the Parliamentary Services Commission, and that was all about integrity. All about integrity of the public service and the level of trust in the public sector. And I think that is one of the reasons that's been put down when we've also had the Department of Statistics in front of us. They put that down, a lowering level of trust, and this is across the Western world, a lowering level of trust in governments is one of the reasons that less people participate in the census, and it becomes harder to get that census data and becomes more expensive to get that census data. So integrity, censuses and elections in this case all go together. Madam Speaker, I think that this is a common sense approach, and I commend this bill to the House.
Madam Speaker.
Well, actually, that's a good point there. It's a shame he didn't mention his 30 years as a councillor and mayor of Wellington City Council, where he could mention the fact that they only do boundary reviews every two election cycles. Yeah, that's the weird thing about councils, is the council boundary reviews line up with election cycles and have done under the Local Government Act for a very long time, whereas the government one doesn't. But the government one is based on it's based on like the government census thing. It's like been based on like we've been doing it that way since the 1800s. The only thing that we never actually got properly right was Māori electorates prior to 1996, because they were never actually based on population. However, the interesting part was they did redraw the boundaries of the Māori electorates at one point in time and stretched southern Māori to encompass all the way up to south of Palmerston North at one point in time, because of the population growth. Wasn't the fact that it was to balance out the Māori population. So there was
They switched it all the way up to south of Palmerston North, but didn't expand it to Upper Hutt.
Oh, no. This was pre-1996. So this is when it used to be called Southern, Northern, Eastern, and Western.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before we actually started giving our Māori electorates Māori electorate names, such as Te Tai Tonga or Te Tai Tokidau.
Right.
You know, and some of them more locational based, like Tamaki Makaurau.
Yes.
But, you know, historically, they were, I'd like to call, English names for the Māori.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. This made me giggle. Thanks, Laura.
Well, one of the bills that Andy Foster has in the biscuit tin doesn't seem to sit there and say that.
Common sense census bill, common sense census bill, common sense census bill. Hey, did it?
Yeah.
And then this one, There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. How ironic is that? Yeah, David Ferrier was born in Bethlehem on Christmas Day.
Right.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this, Laura, once again, you are spot on the money, my dear.
Stop making dumb bills. Yes, that's
Stop
right.
making dumb bills.
Yes,
Stop
Andy,
doing dumb
get
things.
rid of your dumb bill out of the biscuit tin and put it with
Yeah.
something a bit more substantive and proper. Yeah, the Green Party seems to
Exactly.
sit there and actually put some realistically decent bills in there.
Right. Stop pushing everything through under urgency that doesn't need to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So
But let's jump into
Rawani.
one or two more while we still have time to.
Yeah.
Let's find out who's next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to take a call on this particular bill and can absolutely categorically say that the Party Māori do not support this bill. It is another form of voter suppression in terms of Māori representation in this House. It doesn't allow for the boundary changes in the Māori seats. What it does is it restricts the ability to have our Māori seats counted. Now, let me just paint a picture for you. The Māori electorates are the biggest electorates in the country. They usually have between 5 and 10 general electorates inside of them. The Taitonga one is absolutely, it's probably the, well, as we know, is the biggest electorate in the Southern Hemisphere. And so what you've got is that in order to make up general electorates, you need 69,000 people. You need 69,000 people. In order to make up the Māori electorate, you need 75,000 people, right? You need 75,000 people, absolutely. Well, there are general electorates here that are made up of 69,000 people, but Māori are expected to have 75,000, right? And across 7 seats, that's another 35,000 people we have to find in order to participate, right? Since 2023, there's been 14,000 more Māori enrolled on the Māori roll. That's 303,000 Māori on the Māori roll. Māori on the Māori roll now outpopulate Māori on the general roll. Mm-hmm. There is an 8th seat waiting there right now. And if this House had adopted my member's bill in the first term, we wouldn't have this problem. Because of my member's bill, it said that those boundaries should be changed every election. Now, there's a judicial process at the moment in regards to that particular decision, because they took that decision based on 2024 data. After the hikoi, absolutely, there is a huge influx of Māori on the Māori roll. And there is an 8th seat right there on current trajectory. By 2029, Māori will have 9 to 10 seats if we take the trajectory of the increased membership on the Māori roll. And I just have to look at 70% of Te iwi Māori are 40 years and younger. 25% of those, or 50% of that number, are 25 years and younger. You'll have 38,000 rangatahi enrolling onto the Māori roll come this next election. And so these are some of the numbers that are not considered in this particular bill. We absolutely categorically can hand on heart say we do not support this bill. Why? Because of voter suppression for Māori. It did the same in the Electoral Amendment Act that you moved. 75% of this House have to agree to this. Now I turn to these other parties, to the other parties here in this House, and the Māori MPs in those parties, who in this House and the parties would support this to ensure that the 75% threshold is met. And if you support this bill that suppresses Māori vote, and I'm talking to every party in this House, then you have a cheek to stand in the Māori seats. The absolute cheek. You have an absolute cheek to stand in the Māori seats if you support this bill, because this bill continues to suppress Māori voters. We are the fastest growing, maturing voter in this country's democracy. In this country's democracy. And what will happen here is, this is the biggest threat to those backbenchers in National, who will see this as their last term in government, because Māori will be deciding who who the next Prime Minister is. Māori will be deciding who the next Prime Minister is. It will be the Māori electorates. All the numbers are telling you this.
Can the member come back to this bill?
It is absolutely to do with this particular issue, Madam Speaker, is that these boundary changes do affect the numbers. Get a hearing aid. And so this is the position of Te Pāti Māori. This is the position of Te Pāti Māori. And you've got to take all the numbers in order to participate in this conversation. You cannot just take it from this. It's tied to the statistics stuff and the data stuff that you just talked about in the last bill. It's tied to this one. It's all part of the same agenda. And that is to make sure you suppress Māori voters. That is to make sure that Māori are not deciding who the next Prime Minister is come November the 7th. But I can assure you, all Māori will start to migrate onto that Māori role and they will be making the decisions come November 7th. Kia ora tātou.
Carl Bates.
Certainly agree with what Rawari has sat there and said there. He is so right about the fact that we, in 2023, so this is before the Hikoi, the census was taken because it was election year. The boundary redraws were delayed, which is what it says in the Act, and that's the reason why we only had the boundary redraw in that comes into effect this election. And yes, he was right. The fact that Māori MPs have to represent, depending which he has said, about 6,000. He's rounded one statistic down, he's rounded another statistic up. So the average electorate size quota for the North Island is 69,500. The average Māori electorate is 74,500. Yes, he rounded one down one way, down the other. And all it would take is about 10 to 20,000 people to jump on the Māori roll before a census boundary redraw to trigger an 8th seat.
Yeah. Do you recall how many people he said were on the Māori roll?
No. I recalled how many he sat there and said on there.
I could have sworn he said 300,000. 303,000.
Yeah. That's
right.
reasonable.
And there are 7 Māori electorates, yes?
Yes.
So
that number doesn't quite line up because
that number really does not line up, because 303,000 divided by 7, I put it in my bloody calculator, is 43,285.
Okay, well, 74,500, which is the electoral population quota for the Māori electorates, will bring up 521,500 people. So that also doesn't sit or line up. I mean, we also get this weird one, which is not applicable within New Zealand, but 200,000 people identify as Māori who live in Australia.
Yeah.
Because Tuatara Flavel, when he was a MP, or it might have been Peter Sharples, one of the two, actually wanted an 8th electorate that was based on the Australian boundary. But actually, here's the part that's actually got me about Te Tai Tonga being the largest electorate in the Southern Hemisphere. I thought it might have been one of the 2 Northern Territory electorates in Australia's election might have hit that category, not Te Tai Tonga. But that's something, but I'm not exactly sure which one's accurate, but there's 2 electorates in the Northern Territory. Because the Northern Territory has they have so few representatives that effectively they only have 2 like 2 MPs and 2 senators. So the electorates they have in the Northern Territory is Solomon, which mainly covers Darwin, and also was it Lingairi, which is a rural area electorate, which it covers 1,348,073 square kilometres. And I feel sorry for Marion. Was it Scream? Oh, I don't know how to say her name, but the MP has quite a lot of coverage.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean that is so there are only 2 electorates that in the Northern Territory, and I mean, what's Te Tai Tonga?
We are comparing land mass size for anybody who's unsure, by the way, not the amount of people in it.
Yeah. So Te Tai Tonga is, which is the Māori electorate, and does it say what sort of square kilometres? No, it's giving me election results, but that's not what I want to know. It is more is what's the size of it is. As I say, I know it's a huge electorate. It's the largest electorate in New Zealand.
It is.
But yeah, it doesn't sit there. Says where the population centres are, but it doesn't sit there and actually give approximate numbers on there, and it says who the local iwis are. Oh well. But yeah. Well, we at least know what the size of what's it called? The largest electorate in Australia.
Yep, even the wiki doesn't want to tell us. Good stuff.
Yeah. And it's interesting what Simon's brought up here. They rejected statehood, and it remained as territory because if they actually got statehood, they would have 5 MPs at least.
Yeah.
Because Tasmania, as a state in Australia, their electoral quota is only about 2/3 of what the rest of Australia is, because that a state has to have a minimum of five electorates, whereas a territory doesn't. And the other thing is, if the Northern Territory became a state, they would actually have 12 senators, not 2.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a big.
How many was it Jacinta Price? Was it Jacinta Price or whatever? That freaking wet job, that wet job senator who waka jumped into the ALP. Jacinta Neprajimpa Price.
Right.
Jacinta Price.
I wanna ask Simon, who rejected statehood? Because your comment says
the Northern Territory of Australia.
Right. It's funny. It was funny that you rejected statehood a few years ago. Who? You can't mean us, surely.
No. He does mean the Northern Territory of Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, he does mention that.
Probably a typo. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. But yeah, she was the the senator who defected from the National Party to join the Liberal Party to try and get a front seat on the bench.
Right, I see. Oh, sorry, that's my take out the rubbish alarm.
Tomorrow's rubbish day. Yes,
it is for me. Yes. Right. Do we want to smash out one more, or do we want to call it there?
No, call it a night.
All right.
Yeah, call it a night.
Do you want to run not the credits, the other thing, submissions? That guy. Yeah, those guys.
The environmental disestablishment, I was about to say destruction of the Ministry for the Environment Amendment Bill. Submissions close on Wednesday, the 11th of March. The Health and Safety at Work Amendment Bill closes also on the 18th of March. So, that could be the bill where I would sit there and order Stacey to stand on top of the coffee cart in the bikini and say, buy coffee, which would be a great health and safety risk.
Especially while it's moving.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say moving, but I was going to say in a static position at an event, I would still call it a dangerous place. I mean, I did let Ray sit on top of the coffee cart to sit down there and watch planes take off at wings over Mawera.
You didn't let him; he just did it.
Yeah. I didn't stop him either, and I didn't tell him off. I just who cares? He'll be safe on it. Yeah. The Armed Force Discipline Legislation Amendment Bill closes Wednesday, 25th March, and the Otautahi Community Housing Trust Variation Bill closes on Friday, the 3rd of April. So those are the bills that will be coming up in your submission. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm going to chuck it in the comments. End of the month 31st, March 31st. At some point that day, Tuesday, I am shaving all my hair off for Shave for a Cure. Donate if you can. Okay? Don't put yourself out of pocket if you can't afford it. Okay, but donations would be awesome. Please help us out. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to call it a night there. Sam has had a very long day.
And I've still got to pull the freezer out of the back of the van to then plug it into the power.
And Sam is still going to have an even longer day.
Yeah, oh, that's all right. I've still got to return the slushing machine at hut tomorrow morning by 10 a.m.
And a long tomorrow.
Right, and then
all right.
Yeah. Oh, also there is on Tuesday at 5 o'clock or 5:30. I'll have to double check the time. Fabian's will be doing a live stream on homelessness.
Right.
So I know I'll be the editor for doing that. Laura would like to book you in for Easter Sunday.
I have no idea what's happening then.
No, but it's a date. It's a date. I did try to get Laura to be on the show. I tried to lock that in for the last month, but not had success. I can tell you that was something that said this is the one to do it in there. Because the plan was not to have me here; it was actually to have me have the night off. I mean, that's pretty obvious. As I said, I'm not firing on all cylinders. Yeah. So it's going to go on there. Hopefully by then Parliament will actually start publishing their Hansards again, but that has been, as every single run sheet since the February has the word no Hansard available.
Yeah. But yes, Laura, you are forgiven. We understand. Don't stress
and
yourself.
good luck.
Even
Your
more
job
than
is to sit there and increase the Green Party's party vote, which is what we want to see, and hopefully retain my local MP to sit there and become the MP of Wellington Bays, even that she does have a very good formidable opponent known as Craig Reddy.
Yeah. But all right, lovely beans. Sam and somebody will catch you next Sunday. I might be here. I don't know.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I will see what happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it might help. Hopefully, Mawera and Karetai did actually sit there and say, when's the next show? The following Sunday. So, maybe we might have Mawera back on there. I did sit there and ask if Jack could sit there and step in, but no, he apparently has got the same cough.
Well, I mean, they do generally go around the house.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, so we could try to get the councillor for Kohi of the Bay of Plenty Regional Council to appear on the show. Yes.
Yep, right here every Sunday, 8 p.m. All the channels you're currently watching on.
And also available both on landscape and portrait.
Yes, depending what your preference is.
YouTube.
Or your device.
YouTube on your phone automatically pushes for the portrait version. Because I was watching on my phone and insisted on portrait because of the dual mode.
Oh,
it only gave me the portrait feed. Yeah.
Bro, trying to sort that shit out before I started this. I was so confused.
I already had that. So I already had it set up for you.
No, because it was showing like. Okay, hold on. If I throw.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
right.
No, because it was set up, but it was.
It was showing like half of the screen on portrait mode.
This.
Where the red dot is, follow that up. It was showing like that much.
Oh, it would have been set in this mode, but yes, it would have been. But yes, I know exactly why that would have done that because yes, it was based on two people doing the show, which works perfectly fine. But if you sit there and hide one of us, so if we just hide me. Oh, okay, that's weird. That wasn't
because we're already on the thing. Hold on a moment. I mean, Sam, we can play around with this afterwards.
Yeah.
No, because it still knows you're there.
Yeah. Oh well. That's, yeah. So.
Right. So let's unhide Sam. There you are. Cool.
Yeah. So
Right,
yeah,
but yes.
basically, I know exactly. Yeah, for one person that mode doesn't work. Yeah, for two people
Yeah.
it does, but for one person it doesn't. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like I was this close to calling you and being like, how do I fix it? I'll figure it out.
You figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, we will let you all go.
Yeah, roll on.
We'll catch you next Sunday, 8 p.m.
Yeah. And I'll let you do the closing credits because it's your show.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a good week. We'll catch you next time. Ka kite anō.
Thank you for watching The Order Paper, your express ticket to the New Zealand House of Representatives. Every episode, we unravel the complex world of legislation, debate, and democracy. From bills to select committees, we've got it all covered. From our team of political commentators who will dissect and explain what's happened so you can remain up to date on what's happened in the Aotearoa, New Zealand Parliament. To support our channel, you can become a Patreon member at patreon.com/It's in the Ballot. The Order Paper podcast is brought to you by It's in the Ballot Productions.